Hello and welcome to the NewsMan, the news for the intelligent Indian.
Indian students who manage to stay in the UK by securing jobs or pursuing further studies have become poor in recent years. In the UK, Indians now form the second largest cohort of foreign students behind China. Indians, like other foreign students, pay higher tuition fees than the domestic students, so they are disproportionately impacted when they can't find jobs. This chart shows the immigration status of Indian students 5 years after they had entered the UK through the study route. A majority of visas, around 76%, expired by 2022 and only 17% were able to switch to work visas. What is the reason for this? While UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak blamed the low quality courses for this, 30% of Indian students go to universities ranked above 100 by The Guardian. Only about 13% of Indians were enrolled in the 24 prestigious Russell Group universities, which include the University of Oxford and Cambridge. Consumption-based poverty estimates still have relevance, and the Multi-Dimensional Poverty Index, or MPI, is not a substitute for it. Ex-RBI Governor and the 12th Finance Commission head C. Rangarajan argues. He cites three limitations of the MPI. Number one, Global Multi-Dimensional Poverty Index estimated that between 2005 and 16, the number of poor people in India fell by more than 271 billion. But this conclusion is not a new revelation. According to the estimates of poverty based on the consumer expenditure methodology of the Rangarajan Committee, the decline in poverty between 2009 and 12 was 46 million per annum. So for a decade, it will be larger than the global MPI. The search for non-income dimensions of poverty stems from the capability approach, but capabilities may not be tightly linked to the privately purchased consumption basket. And number three, there is aggregation across indicators. In principle, they should be independent. For example, access to safe drinking water cannot be aggregated with indicators such as child mortality. Dr. Rangarajan says he is not against the Multidimensional Poverty Index, and it should be used to supplement expenditure-based poverty estimates with other indicators of living standards. Statistician 𝗳𝗶𝗹𝘁𝗲𝗿 said, all models are wrong, but some are useful. This article makes two arguments. Argument 1. Different experts can draw contradictory conclusions from the same data. A 2021 study examined comments in an online academic forum to explore how gender and academic status influence contributions to the forum. However, the study resulted in diverse and contradictory findings across 29 separate analyses. Number 2. Data analysts need statistical expertise, wisdom, and a solid understanding of India's realities. In 1947, government hired contractors exploited the refugee situation at Red Fort by inflating refugee numbers and overcharging the government for food. Rice, being expensive, was the most inflated. Instead of rice, an Indian Statistical Institute team later determined the accurate refugee count by using salt used per capita as a reliable indicator of the actual number of refugees, as salt was expensive and the contractors hadn't inflated it. The Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change recently reversed its decision to merge several key environmental organizations. During the COVID-19 lockdown, the Ministry of Environment proposed creating integrated regional offices by merging offices of the Forest Survey of India, the National Tiger Conservation Authority, the Wildlife Crime Control Bureau, and the Central Zoo Authority, and thus bring them under the ministry. But more than 2 years later, the Ministry of Environment dropped the merger plans. What was the rationale behind the original merger plan? The ministry cited ease of doing business, efficient resource allocation, and better coordination. But critics of this plan argue that this would lead to a loss of autonomy, interference in decision making, and loss of focus and expertise. A potential way forward would be decentralized infrastructure, that is, distribution of administrative and operational functions across multiple regional or local offices. In environmental organizations, this leads to localized decision making, quick responses to emergencies, and enhanced legal enforcement. The President of India gave his assent to the Birth and Death Registration Amendment Act 2023 passed by the Parliament. The major provisions include: the Act mandates the maintenance of a national level database of births and deaths by the Registrar General of India. These databases will contribute to updating various national level databases such as the National Population Register, Aadhaar, electoral rolls, ration cards, and passports. Aadhaar numbers will be collected of parents when recording births. The amendment introduces a requirement for a cause of death certificate for deaths occurring in medical institutions. While the Act mandates the collection of Aadhaar number of the parents, when recording births, it does not include provisions for recording the Aadhaar number of the deceased, which might hinder the national goal of efficient service delivery. Critics have also questioned the need for a separate national level database when state level databases already exist.